Hello, welcome again to another 2-minute video. My name is Robert Ward and I'm hoping to be elected as the Conservative Councillor for Selsdon and Addington Village. I'd like to talk again about Croydon Council's finances. As I've said before, the Council's finances are really complicated if you dig into the detail, but quite simple if you keep to the big picture. I think the more you understand, the more likely you are to vote Conservative. Let's talk about the bankruptcy. I've heard Labour say it isn't a bankruptcy because the council keeps providing services, and in one sense that's quite true. The council is not a company, so it can't go bankrupt in the same way as a company can. However, when the council issued a Section 114 notice, it meant that in the opinion of the Chief Finance Officer, the income of the council was insufficient to cover its expenditure. Now, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, I think we are okay to call it a duck. In fact, the people of Croydon would be much better off if the council could go bankrupt like a company. When a company goes bust, it's the shareholders who pick up the tab. They knew they were taking a risk and they lost out. In the case of Croydon Council, the overspending and waste ends up as a debt. The people who end up paying are you and me, the council taxpayers of Croydon. Now, the council's debt is now around £3,500 for every man, woman and child in Croydon. Now, Labour will point out that the Conservatives borrowed when they were in power, and that's quite correct. There's nothing wrong with borrowing to invest, for example, to buy a house for social tenants to live in, rather than in the private sector. That saves the council money. What Labour have been forced to do is borrow to cover the costs of their own incompetence and failure. That is entirely different. They are now being forced to cut services and sell assets. That is what happens when Croydon Labour gets in. Some of the faces may have changed, but most of the current Labour cabinet were in the cabinet when this terrible debacle happened. Think of that when you cast your vote in May. Don't give them another chance to make things even worse. Remember who ends up paying.